So coming back from the most recent pilgrimage to India, I thought it would be nice to have a download. And now that I'm thinking about that, I have no clue what that looks like. However, two of my dear friends that were in India at the same time, I showed up a little later because my trip got postponed because my wife went into the emergency room. But Raven was there, and Devotionanda was there, and Dr. Rex, who's on his way. And we went to see the annual bathing of the immortal yogi Mahananda Siddha. And he is immortal because when God appeared to him in the form of Shiva in 2002, he told him to stop doing everything that he was doing and to go to this mountain and live in this cave and feed and heal everybody that came to him. And he was a billionaire. And his whole life he had spent a lot of money refurbishing temples that had become dilapidated. So he did it. And when he got to the mountain and started living in the cave, God appeared to him again in the form of Shiva and said, good job. You won't ever eat, you won't ever sleep, you won't ever drink any liquid. You can sleep on fire if you want. And once a year on the 14th of April, people will come and pour holy water on you and incense and rose water and coconut water. And just being in his very presence is quite illuminating.
So I'm Raven. When Swaha first says, who wants to go to India, it was at a time where, on a practical level, it was not truly the best time for me. I would just be coming back from teaching in Europe, and I would have to teach my own students. But my heart just said, go. And so I keep listening to what spirits was telling me. And then, of course, Swaha says, I can't go now. And so do you want to postpone? And my heart says, I can't postpone. I'm going. I don't know who's going to be there. I've never met Sri Raman. I just trust. So there, I just trusted, arrived. And the very next day, Sri Raman showed up and says, oh, I didn't even know you were coming. I thought that there was another person. So it was as if though there was a divine guidance being held in the arm of the Great Mother. And the most powerful for me was simply being. And when I met Siddha, it was a sense of connecting to a higher vibration from the heart. And in being in his presence at the fire puja the night before in the temple, I felt that as I was walking, I felt his voice and I felt Shiva's energy. And at one point where the steeple was, the highest point, my whole body began to vibrate and I was dizzy. I couldn't even stand. And every time I would walk there, again that happened. So I just allow myself to simply receive the energy and then listening to what was best for me. So I returned to Bangalore instead of continuing because my plane, it was again not the right time to go further. But what was powerful was the very next day, a small group of us decided to go to a Kali temple. And there was a Durga temple riding on her beautiful tiger, which is really action. Durga is about the action, the success of the action, the courage. And the moment I came out of feeding the elephant that is the guardian of that temple, Siddha appeared in the sky in the form of a cloud. And I look at that, you cannot mistake Siddha with his coil of hair. you know. And I was a bit mischievous because in reality I was looking at his hair one time. I said, "Is that?" You know, I could see the roots coming and forming. I said, "Okay, that." You know, I was being a little bit mischievous, and there he was appearing in the sky, and his deep, penetrating eyes looking straight at me as I was entering the Kali temple. I felt this union of Shiva and Shakti. And this temple, I'm sure Sri Raman will know the name of it. It was a very small temple, the smallest of all the ones we visited, but it was powerful. And as we entered, there was no one there. So it was like the small group of us got to go and receive blessing, and we sat in front of Durga, and there was this powerful portal. And one of the person who came with us, the four of us, her heart opened and started crying as she recognized that she was to step deeper into her truth. And that was going to create some difficult, challenging situation in her life. But it was filled with this beautiful, divine feminine of coming from compassion, coming from the heart, and Shiva and Durga all about action that is effortless. And so that is what I came with this blissful energy. And as I held this talisman, the message that was very clear was whoever has the grace and listening to the wisdom to be a holder of this, to have this and exchange energy, to purchase this and wear this, this person is the ambassador, emissary of this divine light, and that anywhere that the person will wear it, the energy will exude this light. And that as I held this, I feel as if though I'm feeling the balance of the Shiva and Shakti energy that we so need now. That since 2012, we are stepping into the sacred partnership so that as Swaha said, how many times that women are now being honored and respected as the leaders, as being visible. And Shiva, the male energy, is there as the support to really bring the both in. So, thank you.
Thank you. Devotionanda.
Okay, where should I start?
Exactly.
Wow. Well, basically, before I went to India, after I got a picture of Sita from Swaha, I put the picture in my altar. So kind of daily, I wanted to tap into his energy. That was actually before I heard that he would be going to India. So I heard his voice, very powerful voice, like communicating with me, a lot of love. And then later on, Swaha said he's going to India for Abhishekam. I said, okay, I'm going to go. I just don't know why, I just know that I'm going to go no matter what. And he said he will go there later. I said, that's okay, I will go. So a lot of interesting things happened, of course, since I arrived over there, meeting Sita's right-hand man, Sri Raman. Also is a mystic. Yeah, is a very interesting man. The very first time when I saw Sita, I have to say, somehow my heart was just moving so quickly, something happening in my heart, very strong. I remember the first time when I got the blessing from him. We usually bow at his feet. If there's no one in the room or waiting, if my mind did not know that anyone is waiting behind me, my head do not want to get up. It is like the energy that he has, it just radiates so much. Just is kind of like merging into oneness. It was, it's definitely, there's no word to describe. It's all about experience. Um, Being able to be in His presence is definitely more than just a blessing. We were there for the Abhishekam. I think we have 22, like a non-Indian there. It was kind of chaotic because it's such a big event.
Organized chaos.
All the Indians would like to, stand next to him, protect him, anything. And we were actually sitting behind him all this time. It was supposed to be it's like a privilege. Because he's like literally sitting where the altar is, right in front of us. So we were like sitting behind him. And because the organization somehow we are not able to see him in the front. So we were sitting, meditating. It was very nice energy. And then somehow the urge telling me, hey, I should go get closer. I should go and get closer. So ended up, I got my camera ready, and I was standing, like Sita was here, and I was standing here and filming. And people are very nice. They even said, hey, come closer, come closer. And I was actually very shocked and really surprised in a way that every time when the water poured down on him, I felt fresh of energy. Like every few seconds, literally holding like the camera. I would feel like, my God, I just want to stand here. I don't want to leave anywhere. Even though now I'm talking, I still flushing that energy. It's really, really beyond word. So, yeah, it was a really beautiful journey. And it seems like next year, Abhishekam, it's got to be on the schedule. It's definitely, although he doesn't really speak with us in English, but so much love. It's just love. It's just love. And yeah, and he's very funny too. He's love to make jokes.
He does.
Right?
He does. So one of the days that I was with Siddha, he's building this lake with this altar in the middle of it, and we're sitting on the steps, and he's like in back of me, and I feel this rock hit me, a little tiny pebble. I turned around and picked it up, and I looked at Siddha, and he was laughing and laughing. So to take anything off the mountain, you need permission. So I held up the pebble, and I said, can I take this home? He goes, yeah, you can take it home. So I sent it to Don in Portland, who really wanted to go, but just couldn't. And another time when he was doing, with incense and, going around to the various representations of God in the temple, he walked by me and he had the incense in his hand, and he went like that. So, I take that as, one, that, he's very playful. Two, he likes me, or else he wouldn't be doing that, right? And, it's as powerful as he is, and as, it's just to be playful and childlike. It's a wonderful example, of how to be, or how to, try to be, right? So at one of the pujas that he did, there was a bunch of the water that was used in the puja that he brought back to the mountain. And he brought that back, and he gave me a bottle of it. And I have some of that later on. Those that want to meditate and take a few drops of that, we can do that. one of the days that I was there, when Devoja and Rex were there, Raven had already come home. We went to a temple and it was closed. And then Rex looked on the internet and found this temple that was open, and it was unearthed 7,000 years. It was unearthed just recently when they were building digging the foundation for a new high-rise. And they opened up this temple, a little tiny temple, maybe not even half the size of this room, and they carbon dated it at 7,000 years, and they found a bull in it, which is the vehicle that Shiva rides, carved out of stone, and out of its mouth water was coming. And there's no understanding or mechanism that explains where the water comes from. There's no hoses, there's no machines, there's no nothing. It just comes out of the bull's mouth. So I brought back some of that water too. And a few drops of that provides an opportunity for a peek at past, let's just call them energies or skills or tools or understandings that can be brought forward into this life from what has been accumulated in past lives that can be helpful today. So we have some of that water too. And there's also some nan that I brought back. And this nan is it sort of has the energy of mother's milk plus some water from the immortal yogi Bogar. And this nan nourishes the field in which children, in whatever lifetime this happened, there was physical, mental, or sexual abuse. It balances that field that then that child responded to that, creating defense mechanisms and ways of being and thinking that created patterns that, followed lifetime after lifetime. So I have some of that nan, and it's one little packet a day for 10 days. That's free for anybody that wants it. And also, Papa's balancing water is, along with another Siddha medicine, a white medicine, can be requested by those that are, let's just say, taking all sorts of psychiatric medication. And what this medicine does is it balances the field in which that energy emerged. And I've given it to a handful of people already, and I just suggested to them that over the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, months, that they just notice how all of that is interacting in their system, because the field in which that energy emerges as a response to life becomes balanced with this Siddha medicine, so they can then talk to their psychiatrist and figure out what they want to do moving forward, given that that field, is healed. So, India is incredibly magical. I think you guys went to another temple in which there was a Shiva lingam that goes all the way down to the center of the earth? I mean, the story, that, Lord Subramunya, which is Shiva's oldest son, killed a demon, and the tax that he had to pay for killing, even if it's a demon, he had to go and worship Shiva, and he installed a Shiva lingam. And the round part of the Shiva lingam, this boy found it sticking out of the mud when he was 12, and eventually he dug down 20 feet and it just kept going down. There was no end to it. So he's building a temple around this Shiva Lingam. So, anything more?
Oh yeah, your sitar sandals.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
You.
Well, you
Yeah.
held them for a while, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, what was that experience?
Hey.
Sri Raman, when we came back, says that there was a special sandals that he made for sitar, and one was to be given to Swaha. And they say, who's going to see Swaha first? I said, most likely me, because I'm going back. And so he presented it to me. But my first thought is, but Swaha is coming, so why is it that I'm going to take that back? So you don't doubt, you just accepted it. So I had it with me for a week, and in my presence, and it was such an honor to feel the energy. And there was one night I felt as if though the sandals, it was like suddenly I look at my feet and the sandals were like there, the energy, the pattern was there. And one night, and the very last night, I put it beneath my pillow, and there was this field of light that was just so pure, so amazing. So I arranged, I flew, 24 hours, and 2 hours after I got back, I arranged to hand it over to Swaha, and he was leaving that night to India. So I don't know, have you since connected to it and your own, and I don't know whether you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. They're in the large glass box. Those wood sandals are Siddha's padukas, or sandals in Hindi. And it is very much an honor and very intense. And, it's just unbelievable. I'd read about all of these immortals, and growing up a Christian, I always heard the stories about Jesus and rising from the dead and ascending into heaven with his body. Well, all of these cultures, whether it's the Taoists, the Buddhists, or the Hindus, or the Christians, have all got examples of very advanced beings dissolving their physical body into light and going with their physical body. And, it really has brought this process of advancement, I think, into a more common denominator. I know as a kid, what was in my mind was, well, that was him 2,000 years ago, probably. But, what about now? How does that translate into now? And how does that translate into me? And, nobody had any answers for me in the Catholic Church. I subsequently made peace with the Church, unbeknownst to me, when I was in St. Peter's in 2010 in Rome. A bucket of golden light poured down on me, and the result was that I noticed that I had forgiven the Church. I don't know how that happened, but it happened. So the eminent Dr. Rex was in India also. And maybe we can get a few candid comments from His Eminence.
Don't call me that. There's only one eminence, and his padukas are in the case there.
I know.
This was my 14th trip to India, and it was easily my best one, except for my trip to the Kumbh Mela. So this was really at the top of the list. And, I made great friends with all the people from Germany, and I totally became like a brother with Sri Raman. And with this guy, of course, we were already brothers. But with Siddha, I was just in a state of constant bliss and happiness the entire time that we were around him. I think I got to be with him about 5 times on this trip. Last time was with Ron, Swaha. And, I, to the degree that I can say that I'm capable of judging something like this, I would say that Siddha is a direct incarnation of Lord Shiva in a body. That's just who he is. So when you're looking at Siddha and seeing him going into Samadhi, you're seeing Lord Shiva. And I'm just totally in love with him. I have what I consider to be a devotional relationship with him now. So for me, he's the second guru to go along with my first guru. And I will be unable to stay away from going back to see him over and over again. So I'm hoping to move overseas within a year or so and get real close. But it was just fantastic, the whole trip, and we saw amazing temples and Jiva Samadhi sites. There were some really powerful places that Sri Raman took us to. So it was a profound trip.
Tell them what a Jiva Samadhi site is.
Oh, okay. A Jiva Samadhi site is where a God-realized saint is buried, but they usually, to my understanding, they entered a state of samadhi while still alive and are buried in that state, and they maintain their physical body. So the body's there, they're under the ground, and they're still emanating their presence. And it's a potent place to, feel the presence of the divine and to meditate and so on. And I got majorly blissed out at this one Jiva Samadhi site we went to. I forget the name of the saint, but he was buried underneath a tree, and it was just profound sitting there. I was like blissed out for the rest of the day after we left. I guess that covers it, unless anyone has questions.
That particular saint actually took Jiva Samadhi in 3 locations. He took Jiva Samadhi with 3 different bodies. The same bodies.
Didn't tell me this.
Yeah, one is in Pakistan, one is in I think the place that you went, and then there's one that's about 300 miles away. And so some of them actually, their bodies get buried. Most of them, when they take Jiva Samadhi, their body turns into light. And the light, like on Star Trek, beams into an object, like a pyramid or a statue or a murti of one of the saints, one of the God representations. Maya Ma, who lived 423 years in a body, when she dissolved into light, her entire physical presence that turned into light beamed into a pyramid, and that is like the doorway to the dimension that she's in. And you can go and meditate in that little temple near that pyramid. So the Buddhists call it rainbow body, right? Raven, you can tell them about rainbow body, because it's, at some point all of these traditions sort of merge to the same place, I think.
In the Bon Buddhist tradition, that's my lineage, the Himalayan, and Bon is the indigenous religion of Tibet. So it's not Shakyamuni Buddha, but it's Tongpa Shenrab, and it's 18,000 years old. And our practice focus not just on the sutric or tantric tradition and teachings, but on what we call sukchen, which is the great completion, to realize spontaneously and arising that we are already perfected. So it is about clearing the dualistic mind to recognize that our whole mind, body, our speech, our consciousness, our physical being simply comprise of the 5 elements on its highest level, which is the 5 wisdom lights of the white, yellow, green, blue, and red. So when we keep clearing the karmic imprints within us, and we no longer accumulate any more karmic imprints, that means that more and more our mind, our body, our speech simply return to its original wisdom lights. So those who have achieved this at the moment of their death, their physical body dissolve into lights, and perhaps teeth or bones might be left, but simply it's into light. And there is one actually that has been written up in a book called The Hot Drops of Dhammakaya, and it's 1927. Shatsa Rinpoche was witness to have achieved rainbow body, and all his students saw his body shrinking and dissolve, and then a rainbow emerged from this building, and off his consciousness went. So it is a reminder that it is possible for all of us to achieve rainbow body, but it is not so much that we try, it is actually stop trying and to connect to the heart wisdom that is within us.
So there's another saint by the name of Ramalinga. In like 1890, he was going into his room, and he stopped and he wouldn't let his students come in, which was unusual. And they said, well, why? And he said, well, you wouldn't understand. He closed the door. Now, there's no windows and there's no exits. There's just a door in. He closed the door, and they saw a flash of light under the door. 4 days later, they ventured in, and he was gone, dissolved into light. Now, I've been there, and I put my hand on the door, and I shook for 45 minutes. It was like mini convulsions, but it really wasn't convulsions. And, I think there's literally thousands of these beings, not just in India, but in Tibet, in, probably Cambodia and Bhutan and China, Vietnam, that have taken this step in evolution. And it's my understanding that our species, all of us, have that potential in us. Suppose you want to say anything?
I was so into the conversation, sorry. It was really fascinating to see how Boga live. Isn't it? He's like 80 something? 85? But the night before Abhishekam, he was walking. We're literally chasing him. He was walking, I think, like a 20-something, 30-year-old man. He was walking up and down so fast. And while you were talking about the rainbow body and everything, it just made me, what really struck me is, as a human, we do have tremendous potential in our health, mind, and spirit. And the key is how to tap into that strength and potential. I mean, if you guys have noticed, Swaha look younger and younger, and after this trip especially, I'm sure, may I say, with the grace of Siddha too, yeah. And so many books and story we can read and hear about. And it is truly is Again, blessing is not just the word. It is beyond everything. If we can get a boon from Siddha, just by seeing how Swaha changed his body and the whole physiology-wise, everything. He dropped how many pounds so far since you got back? 10 pounds? It's just by being in his presence. And for sure, many people do have that potential, maybe not in that level. You know, it really depends on why you're here on earth. But it is definitely very inspiring to see the possibility, you know, and it's the availability too. It is no longer like a lost access. It's no longer like a lost science or connection. He's here for the humanity. He's available. So, yeah. Well, I think whatever Swaha had brought to us is definitely is a great blessing. Try it, tap into it. Maybe we'll form a group from Los Angeles to there very soon.
Maybe next year, huh?
Yes.
You want to say something more, Rick?
I'll be going sooner than that, probably. So you can all come with me if you want. I don't know. It's an amazing opportunity, that's for sure. Siddha's temple is, I think, Sri Raman's. Do you remember how many square feet it's going to be? He said something like 1 million square feet or more. It's huge. It's like, what, 9 levels?
7.
7 levels, okay. 7 levels, and each level is just gigantic. I mean, you've got to walk a long way to get from one end to the other on any particular level. 7 levels of this temple with 2 big gopurams on each end and just all sorts of shrines all over the place. And Siddha is just building this with nothing but donations, and apparently the money's pouring in from God knows where, devotees and Sri Raman, of course. And I don't know how long it's going to take to finish it, but they're just really working at it. And this is going to be an incredible pilgrimage site when it's done. And it's really exciting to be there right now and see it being built and see Siddha just, constantly supervising everything and, haranguing the workmen and holding court and, receiving devotees and giving gifts. I mean, it's profound. It sort of felt primeval at times. You're at the land is ancient. This is probably some of the oldest land in the entire world, this area of Tamil Nadu, with all these huge rock formations everywhere. It's really something to look at. And then you're up at the top of this mountain just overlooking this plain with all these mountains off in the distance. And, when Siddha goes around to the different temple sites on the complex every day, and you following around to do the pujas at each site, it's just primeval is the word for it. It just feels like something incredibly ancient that's going on. So anyway, you all should come. Simple as that. There you go.
So another thing that happened, I guess I should mention it, is that one of the days we were there with Siddha, he looks at me and he says, "How old are you?" I said 68. He said, "No, you're now 48. And he pulled out a cake, and we cut the cake and ate the cake. He shoves cake in my mouth. He loves to shove cake in anybody's mouth that's around,
A lot of cake.
right? And, I mean, I'm really feeling and thinking of myself as 48 and having a new birthday of April 30th,
He's going to get younger now.
1966.
That's what will happen.
I mean, it's really interesting. It's really interesting. I mean, it's sort of like, why not? I mean, I've seen so many magical things happen that I mean, it's barely even a stretch to step into that reality. So, the field of possibilities is really open for all of us to do stuff that, we've read about, maybe, or heard about, or whispers about. I was given a 750 gram Shiva Lingam of Navapasanam that's on the table there in that other glass case with rice in it. And Papa Bogar, who made that a long time ago, really, he is building a dune, and I had no clue what a dune was, but apparently a dune is a pillar 27 feet tall that is made out of medicinal ash or bosmums. I don't know what kind of bosmums, but I mean the little tiny bit of bosmums that I've handed out to a lot of you that's made from the sapphire or made from the pearl. I mean, how much bosmum does it take to, even make an inch of a pillar? And my understanding is that once this dune is completed, that the Navapasanam that is in existence becomes amplified by some incredible factor. It's like a satellite turning on in space, but this is in the jungles of South India, and it's so sort of non-remarkable looking that, a dog might even just pee on it and not think nothing of it. However, it's this incredible energetic beacon. So he gave that to me, and he said, go back, and if you can find the right person that has the means, they can buy it. I also got this green Navapasanam bead when I was there. And I think it's from a different time. I don't know. I mean, when it touched my hand, it sent chills all up and down my body. So you can feel it. It's, I don't know. To me, it's very, very different. It's at a different level. I mean, the Navapasanam that we have and the water that's energized, is an incredible blessing. I mean, these immortal beings that have been around for thousands and thousands of years, I guess they have more than a few, alchemical substances to support the unfolding of consciousness in a body. Yeah, sure, pass it around. So on this trip we went down to Palani, which is about a 6 or 7 hour drive.
Oh, he took you back down?
Went down to Palani, and there's like a 4-foot statue there of solid Navapasanam of Lord Subramunya. And they did an abhishek to that statue, and then they gave everybody a little tiny little spoon of the water that came off of it. And then they did this other thing with Lord Subramunya's padukas, and they had Sri Raman and I fanning either side of this, I don't know, this contraption that they carried the padukas around in, with a silver handle and long horsehair, like I don't know what we were doing, but they told us to sort of fan either side of the padukas where the thing was open. So we did that. And it felt like a big honor. I mean, I didn't quite get the significance of it all, but it felt really good. And so, you got any more?
Oh, maybe one thing is the temple that Rex was talking about is built around this cave that Sitao has been meditating in. And so there's a glass door now, but you could see this little doorway into this cave. So the cave is on top of this beautiful mountain, and this 7-story temple is built around it. Yeah, so that is very important because he was meditating in the dark in the cave. And in the Burn tradition, we also have the dark retreat, where advanced practitioners go in for 7 weeks of solitary dark retreat, which I have participated in. The next level is to do 100 days, and each week you do a particular practice, and so of clearing the physical karmic imprint, and so that the inner light will come, and you see this what we call visions. Lights can pour out, but it is not about grasping. It is about allowing it to arise and allowing it to dissolve, and to see where are we still grasping. Where are we still saying, "Oh wow, look at this! I'm seeing this this beautiful thing," or my power is becoming stronger. It is really about humbling and keep dissolving the ego. So I think again the beautiful message is that there are so many messengers, and for those of us who are blessed to really step into this journey, I think we are all that messenger. We are all these sacred circles, of light to move to the next level. So thank you, Swaha, and I will have to leave soon.
Raven. Devoji, you got anything more?
I can share a little incident. Yeah, actually, the night before Abhishekam, we were talking about he was like walking around the temple. He has many different deities, and then he will lead the group because he is the leader. We just go to different room. Like I said earlier, it wasn't easy to catch up with him. He went so fast. And by the time he just settled down, and like thousands of people suddenly just stand in front of him. So it wasn't easy to get very close-up look. And I got very fortunate because I have to tell myself I have to go more faster. Trying to get in at least the first or second row to see him. Otherwise you won't even see him. Will be all like this. So when he was sitting on Nandi, the bull, and I was literally the second row, and I felt so honored to be able to see a being sat on Nandi just completely into samadhi. I think he was the first true Shiva on earth I have seen at that moment.
You were seeing Shiva sitting on Nandi in that moment.
Yeah, and it's not just by seeing, but the feeling of it. It was so strong. And he was gone, don't know how long, maybe like 2 minutes. It was very long. He was gone for very long. And then all of a sudden the bell rang, the fire came. Of course, they would have to bring him back. So then he heard that, opened the eyes. And then I noticed there's some liquid is here. I don't know whether it's his saliva or it's the nectar. Because I heard, it's the nectar that he received. Sometimes from here or from here. That's how he licked because he doesn't eat anymore. So it was like, whoa, it's just by being there, it's already fulfilled so much of my desire at that moment. So, yeah, connect with him, he's around.
I will say one other thing about the cave for everybody.
Good.
Well, the cave now is in a room. They have a room built around it, and there are a lot of, it's almost like a little museum, and then they've got, you know, a number of deity statues in the room, and then the cave entrance is against the wall. And there was one point, I think you were both there when we were allowed into the room with a group of people, and Siddha actually opened the cave door and went in, and we got to stand like a few feet away from the entrance to the cave while he went inside, and it was at night. It was very dark, and he had a lamp with him, and he crawled into the doorway, because the doorway's, what, 4 feet tall, something like that. You can't just walk in, you have to crawl into it. And he crawled in, and then he stood up, and you could see he went to the back a little ways. I don't know, he was maybe 10, 12 feet in back of the entrance, and he just had the dim light, but he went up to some sort of Murti statue, and I could not see whether it was a statue of Shiva or whomever, because it was too dark. But he went in and he did arati to the statue in the back of the cave for a bit, and then finally came back out. So we did get to see that much of the cave. But from what Sri Raman told me, the cave just is huge, and it just extends way back into the mountain. And apparently there are, Sri Raman told me there's, I think, 2 or 3 big snakes that live in there. And supposedly there are other beings that spend time in there as well, but that's all I heard. But we did get to see into the entrance a little ways. Okay.
Okie dokie. So there is a brief download from the pilgrimage to India, and next year on the 14th of April, those that are interested can either show up in India or can coordinate with us and go, or remotely astral travel there and participate in whatever way you can. So, wow, that's all I can say is wow. Thank you.